at my work. Just after 20 minutes after we leave, my work explanation happened and the glass broke. And when I came next day, I saw my office, all my computer, the small pieces of the glass fall on my office and my computer and everything. I didn't have any plan to immigrate, no, because I used it to have a good life, good job, yeah, I don't need it.
My name is Rahaf. I'm from Damascus. I was living with my family in suburb of Damascus. I graduated from Damascus University. I had Bachelor of Chemistry, and I was working with the pharmaceutical industries. I've been here in Canada 1 year. When I arrived to Kelowna Airport, my feelings were mixed of happiness, worry, and stress. But when I arrived and saw my cousin Alia and her family and my sponsors waiting me, that really cheers me up because it gives me the hope about my new life in Canada.
Rahaf is a privately sponsored refugee. But what does that mean? To answer this question, we describe Canada's refugee system. Canada's refugee system is made up of 2 programs to protect refugees. One program is for refugees who are sponsored from outside of Canada. This program is called the Refugee and Humanitarian Resettlement Program, and the sponsor can be the Government of Canada, private sponsors, or a mix of both. Persons sponsored by the government are known as government-assisted refugees. Those sponsored by private sponsors, meaning an organization or a group of people, are known as privately sponsored refugees. Finally, both private sponsors and the Government of Canada can co-sponsor a refugee through the Blended Visa Office Referred Program. The second refugee protection program is the In Canada Asylum Program. This program is for persons who apply for refugee status while inside Canada, either at a port of entry, a border services agency, or an immigration office. While they wait about the decision for their application for refugee status, the applicants become refugee claimant or asylum seekers. If their application is finally approved, they become protected persons and are eligible to apply for a permanent resident. Our interviewee, Rahaf, is a privately sponsored refugee. Here is her settlement and integration story.
The most important thing coming to Canada for me was receiving my permanent residence card right away, because it gave me the identity which I had lost when I left Syria and made me feel like any normal citizen, because I was able to have my SIN number, to my health card, enroll in the English classes and find job. Secondary, there were many centers which helped me to integrate to the community. For example, Project Literacy, Friendship Society, Kelowna Community Resources, Okanagan College, Work BC.
Rahaf spoke about the settlement services that helped her settle in her new community. Most of these services are non-for-profit and funded by federal and provincial governments. Settlement services offer free services to newcomers to help them integrate into their new community and contribute to its social and economic well-being. The federal government currently funds 3 settlement services in Kelowna: the Kelowna Community Resource Society, Kelowna Friendship Society, and the Central Okanagan School District. Each provide different services from language training to finding employment. Rahaf had much to say about the English language program she took at the Kelowna Friendship Society.
She came into my class and she was just so excited about everything. She just wanted to learn everything. And she was just so positive and she just, she just wanted to make the most of everything that we did. And she always wanted to know more. And she was just so appreciative of everything. She's like the kind of student that every teacher wants, really. The LINC program, or LINC stands for Language Instruction for Newcomers to Canada, and it is a free language program for eligible participants. The purpose of LINC is to help newcomers integrate into Canadian society, whether that includes getting a job or shopping, banking, many different things. So it's very settlement-based, which is quite different than ESL. ESL is English as a second language, so basically you're teaching people how to speak English. The LINC program is teaching people how to speak English, but in a way that they will be successful in integrating into Canadian society. At our school, we look at things like employment, Canadian laws, family relationships, health and safety, the environment, politics, maybe if there's for example, this fall, there's municipal elections coming up, so that would be something that we would be doing in class. A lot of our before we start a theme, we do a needs assessment for the students, and the students would tell us what they need English for. So for example, they say, if we're doing money, they might say, well, I need English, I want to be able to open a bank account, or I want to be able to do online banking. So then we would plan our lessons around that so that hopefully they will be successful out in the real world doing what they need to do.
Settlement services were and continue to be important for Rahaf. They help her meet her basic needs, such as improving her language and navigating Canada's bureaucracies. Rahaf, however, has had to look elsewhere for emotional and social support. Having a family member already present in Canada can help newcomers integrate more easily into the larger community.
Besides services, I was so lucky that I have family. My cousin Alia, who was born and raised here in Canada, having family support has helped me a lot to integrate to the community, because Alia helped me by translation, even with the small things like getting to the grocery stores, finding the Muslim, finding the halal meat, going to the mosque, and even I make many friendship through her. So yes, having family for the newcomers is so important for integration to the large community.
While already having a family in Canada has been helpful for Rahaf, certain attitudes in the larger communities can act as roadblocks toward integration. For example, in a 2017 poll, 1 in 4 Canadians said Canada should have adopted the same policy ban on Syrian and other refugees as President Donald Trump. Even though refugees are only 2.4% of the Canadian population, 41% of Canadians believe we have too many refugees in the country. And yes, you heard that right. The refugee population in Canada is just 2%. Finally, 38% of Canadians believe that their neighborhoods are not welcoming to refugees.
At the beginning of my life in Canada, I didn't face the overt racial discrimination. But when I started riding the bus, I have noticed people staring at me and giving me strange looks. And I wasn't sure that's because of my hijab. So then I did an experiment. When I have my hood pulled over my hijab, people don't seem pay attention to me the same way they do when I only wear my hijab. So I wonder if people would treat me differently without my hijab. I was riding my bike when one of the homeless came close to me asking for money. And because I was new in Canada and my language wasn't good, so I went away from him. He got upset and said, "Are you afraid of me? I am afraid of you. You are Muslim, you are terrorist." And that truly hurt me because he didn't seem afraid. He just repeated maybe what he heard from the media.
The students in Alana's Language Integration for New Canadians program, otherwise known as LINC, come from a variety of racial and ethnic backgrounds. We asked Alana if any of her students had been subjected to discrimination. With the permission of her students, she shared some of their stories.
So I was asking, just over the years, and then I was talking to my students today and asking them, have you felt any discrimination? A big thing is the language. If you don't speak the language. And a few students said, one student said she was in the playground with her son and she was speaking in Ukrainian. And a man came over to her and said, "Why are you here? Why did you come to my country? What are you doing here?" And she tried to explain, we're here and, explaining why. But, and then somebody else was saying, it was just this morning, she was on the bus. She was talking on the phone to her mom in Spanish. And again, a man, sorry, it's another middle-aged older man, it seems to be, turned around and said, "Speak English. You should be speaking English, you're in Canada." And other students, that sort of seems to be a common thing. If they speak their own language in a public place, people kind of go, "Oh," and they're upset by it. That seems to be one of the things. One of the students, it happened 6 years ago. She's Japanese. A man actually spat on her in the street.
Just randomly out of nowhere?
Yeah. Walked up to her and spat on her. And walked away. And other people have said, even people that are born here, but they're not, they might be a different, they're not white, that people will automatically assume they don't speak English. They'll start speaking to them in some kind of broken English. And they say, "I was born here. I'm from here."
In light of the discrimination LINC students and other newcomers may experience, we asked Alana if this topic is discussed in her class.
Our LINC program is unique in Canada in that we are actually situated in a friendship society, as part of the Friendship Society in Kelowna Friendship Society, which is a First Nations nonprofit society. And so the students are exposed to First Nations culture right away. Our students, my class, for example, once a month we volunteer at the Elders Lunch, where we prepare the food, we serve, and so students are exposed to First Nations culture. All of the teachers, we include First Nations topics in our classes. For example, we talk about residential schools, we talk about the 60s scoop. Our class was involved in the blanket exercise this year, which was very moving for a lot of students. We also, part of our curriculum is talking about things like the Japanese internment camps during the Second World War. We talk about the Chinese head tax.
Rahaf had the opportunity to learn about some of the history of First Nations people and to meet some Syilx people of the Okanagan Nation. we wanted to learn what the relationship between newcomers and First Nations look like or could be.
My name is Jordan Coble. I'm here at the Syilx Heritage Museum. Happy to be sharing knowledge and culture and all those other things that make us wonderful. What I've experienced over the years is that our people, our Okanagan people, are more inclusive to the visible minorities because we find commonalities. It's easier to see what we can agree upon, you know, the issues of being segregated, the issues of being displaced and misplaced, having our children stolen, having our people stolen, us being stolen. You know, that's been an aspect that we can suffer through together. And I think it's through those commonalities that we can support one another. We can say, hey, I know where you're coming from because our people have been there too. And so there's often, I guess, more of an open door policy to the other visible minorities because of those common historical aspects that we can share together for the better or worse. There was a time when I was ashamed of the color of my skin, what I looked like, you know, where I live. I grew up playing sports. I grew up, that was my inroad to the greater community was through sport. And I used to get that question all the time. Who are you? Where are you from? What's your background? What ethnicity are you? And I used to hate saying that I'm Okanagan, or I hate saying that I'm First Nations, because that came with those follow-up questions. Do you powwow? Do you do beadwork? Do you hunt? And all these types of things. Can you take me hunting with you? Can I touch your hair? Like, it's just like, I couldn't stand it. And so I just avoided that. I'd say I'm Filipino, because it's not a lie, I am Filipino, but I was denying a very important aspect of who I was. And it wasn't until I started taking my language class at university at UBCO, where my language teacher at that time explained to me that you're not, you know, half Okanagan and half Filipino. You're 100% Okanagan, you're 100% Filipino, you're 100% Scottish and German and everything else that makes you who you are. You embrace every aspect of that. You know that, and so that when people ask you, you tell them the truth. You tell them where you come from. You tell them who you are and be proud of that. And it's easy to say, hey, we're bros now because we went through the same issues. We go through the same struggles. You know, there might be some things that make those struggles a little more specific to you than they are to me, but we can relate with one another. We can support one another.
The LINC program in the Kelowna Friendship Society was so helpful for me because it was more than English class. In this program, like in my class, there were more than 10 nationalities. So that's really showed me the real meaning of diversity of Canada. And what makes me really happy that this program took place on the Kelowna Friendship Society, because it was a good opportunity for me to introduce and to have information about the native people of Canada.
I was curious about Jordan's comments about newcomers and Indigenous people supporting each other. As a newcomer to this country, I especially wanted to know what myself and other newcomers can do to support the territories that we live in.
We've always welcomed people into our territories, not just saying you can be here, but we actually physically provided them with homes so that they can survive. We provided them with knowledge so that they can learn how to utilize these resources. We shared that information, we shared it openly, and we focused on our protocols, saying that if you're going to be in our territory, then you respect these lands the way that we have over these years, and it will provide for you for thousands and thousands of years to come. And so we really try to focus on today, embracing newcomers, embracing new people to our lands, but ensuring that we provide the proper knowledge so that they can respect the place and the people that they interact with on a regular basis.
Rahaf has now been in Canada for over 3 years. She has a home, a part-time job, and is completing her education. She is also a newlywed. As she reflects on her settlement and integration experience in Canada, she is particularly grateful for the opportunity her employer gave her and encourages other employers to be more proactive in helping refugees settle in their new lives.
1 month after I arrived to Canada, I was invited by KCR to do a presentation about Syria at the library. And after the presentation, Peter, the owner of Independent Grocery, came up to me and said, I have a job for you. I was worried and hesitant because my English wasn't good enough. But he he said, don't worry, your language will improve when you work. And that's what happened. Like talking with my coworkers and the customers helped me a lot to improve my language. That's why I want other employers, please don't be so harsh on the newcomers and immigrators who their language is not perfect. Because by hiring them, you will give them an opportunity to improve their language, and you will help them to feel that they are part of the society.
Rahaf graciously allowed us into her life. With vulnerability and strength, she shared her experience of being a refugee in Kelowna. We want to thank Rahaf for her openness and genuine kindness. We also want to thank Jordan Coble and Alana for being a part of this process, for their contribution and the sharing of their knowledge.